The scope removed everything except the target. A man lies motionless on a mountainside, invisible, wind pressing lightly against his face, heart slowing itself on command, one eye closed, the other pressed into a scope. 12 football fields away, another human being moves through the crosshairs. Not close enough to hear, not close enough to smell fear, not close enough to feel hesitation naturally arise inside the nervous system, only close enough to calculate distance, wind, elevation, humidity, breathing cadence, ballistic drop. 1,000 tiny adjustments, all converging toward one single moment. Pressure, impact, silence. And maybe that is what makes the sniper scope such a terrifying metaphor. Not because snipers are evil, not because Navy SEALs are monsters, but because the scope reveals something the human mind does constantly. It removes everything except the target. The moment the eye touches the optic, the world disappears. Families disappear. History disappears. Complexity disappears. Shared humanity disappears. The target becomes the only thing left inside perception. And once perception narrows that completely, almost anything becomes possible. That may be the deepest danger hidden underneath violence. Not rage, not chaos. Clarity, calmness, precision. A sniper is not spraying bullets wildly into the dark. A sniper is focused, disciplined, patient, still. That is what makes it psychologically disturbing, because enormous preparation must occur before one human being can stare through magnified glass at another human being standing 12 football fields away and convince himself pulling the trigger is necessary. That level of intention does not happen accidentally. The body must be conditioned, the nervous system trained, emotion compartmentalized, instinct overridden. And maybe one of the biggest clues was sitting there the entire time. Nobody prepares this intensely for peace. Nobody carries 100 pounds of gear because the world feels safe. Nobody trains elite snipers because they expect harmony. The preparation itself reveals the belief underneath. Fear was already there before the rifle ever appeared. The rifle simply gave fear a longer reach. And yet the contradiction becomes even deeper. The sniper often cannot even see the target naturally with the naked eye. The scope must first magnify the human being before the shot becomes possible. Think about how profound that really is. A machine narrows perception so completely, another human being becomes a coordinate. Not a son, not a daughter, not a frightened nervous system trying to survive, not consciousness, not life, a target. Because if the sniper fully saw the humanity inside the scope, hesitation might emerge. And hesitation inside warfare is dangerous. So perception narrows further. Everything disappears except the target. But this is not only about war. Human beings do this every single day. The angry spouse becomes the problem. The political opponent becomes the enemy. The addict becomes the junkie. The criminal becomes the monster. The foreign nation becomes the threat. The moment perception locks onto identity labels, complexity starts disappearing. The scope is no longer attached to the rifle. The scope becomes psychological. And once another human being becomes only a category, empathy begins collapsing almost automatically. That is why the most dangerous violence
is often the violence that feels moral, because morality can anesthetize empathy, especially collective morality. Outside the frame of war, high-fiving after a killing would feel insane. Inside the frame of war, refusing to celebrate might feel abnormal. That should disturb people more than it does, because it reveals how dramatically perception shapes emotional reality. The frame determines the feeling. The scope edits reality. Hollywood reveals this too. A war ends. Bodies return home. Then almost immediately, films appear. 2-hour emotional experiences built from trauma. Heroes, villains, missions, music, resolution. But real combat does not move with cinematic pacing. Real war is waiting. Sweat collecting under heavy gear, scanning rooftops repeatedly, flinching at movement, hypervigilance, confusion interrupted suddenly by terror. And maybe the strangest part is the arrogance of believing warfare can even fit cleanly inside a screenplay. As if nervous system damage can be compressed into a satisfying final act. As if memory rolls credits when the movie ends.
Because many veterans describe something very different. The helicopter left years ago. Their nervous system never did. The war ended in form. The body returned home, but the mind kept scanning for rooftops, kept calculating exits, kept sitting with its back against the wall inside restaurants, kept waking up at 3 in the morning from dreams that never fully stopped. Which raises a brutal question. If the enemy was truly eliminated, why does the fear remain alive? Because maybe the deeper battlefield was never entirely overseas. Maybe the sniper scope was revealing something about perception itself. The human mind narrows constantly, fixates constantly, selects constantly, edits constantly. And once perception becomes narrow enough, compassion becomes difficult. Not impossible, but difficult. Because compassion requires widening the frame again. It requires seeing beyond behavior, beyond uniforms, beyond ideology, beyond nationality, beyond the body itself. That does not mean pretending violence does not exist. That does not mean abandoning discernment. That does not mean romanticizing danger. It means recognizing how quickly perception can collapse another human being into a symbol instead of a life. And once that collapse happens, almost anything becomes justifiable afterward. Maybe that is the real warning hidden inside the sniper scope. Not that human beings kill, but that perception itself can become so narrow, eventually the target is all that remains visible.